guys, welcome to Living Food Wise. Janine here, and today we are making zucchini fritters, a beautiful recipe that blends zucchini, fresh green herbs in abundance, and we're going to be making them crispy with the use of besan flour or chickpea flour. Slightly different, but it gives a lovely crispy texture on the outside and still keeping it nice and green and moist on the inside. So stick around. So to get started with our recipe, first thing you want to do is prepare all of your herbs and veggies. And what we've got is some dill, some fresh dill that we've finely cut. We're going to use about 1/3 cup of fresh dill. We have some fresh green curly parsley we're using today. But if you don't have curly parsley, you can use flat parsley. Both are okay. We also have some fresh green coriander. Lovely flavor, also chopped nice and small. And then last but certainly not least, we have some fresh basil. Now I don't recommend Thai basil. This should be an Italian basil or a plain basil. And we've cut that, sliced that up. We also want to slice our spring onions, or what else are they called? Spring onions are also called scallions. Yeah. So slice those up nice and fine. And then the most important greenage is our zucchini. Now, you can grate it, and most recipes do use grated zucchini. My tip though is that grated zucchini lets out a lot of water. And then the way to counteract all that water is by putting lots of salt on it, and then it pulls the water out and you can drain it out. But of course that leaves you with a whole lot of salt on your fritters, and I don't like to use a lot of salt. I prefer to leave it out. So here's my tip for you. Instead of using a grater, use one of these Asian tools. I don't know if you've seen them around. They're often used for green papaya salad and other shredded salads in Vietnam and Thailand and other Thai countries. I picked this bad boy up from Vietnam, but I have no doubt that, and I have actually seen them in Asian grocers. So you'll be able to pick one up fairly easily, and they're really easy to use. You're basically going to put it on your vegetable like so, and grate or shred your vegetable in a length fashion. Now, as you can see, pretty straightforward. It does get a little bit curly as you get towards the end or the center, because you can't hold the vegetable and you can nick yourself if you get too close to your hands. But with zucchinis, that's not a problem, because the center where all the seeds are is where all the moisture is, and it's quite okay to leave that out. So we have this left, as you can see, beautiful shredded zucchini, and it's not too wet, not like when you grate it. So to our zucchini, let's add all our beautiful herbs. This is going to make a really lovely green fritter. I'm going to throw everything in, and all the ingredients, as always, are below this recipe in the description. And then finally our spring onions or scallions. Give it a nice bite. Give that a sort of a toss just to get those herbs through the zucchini. This also works really well with sweet potato and makes kind of like a hash brown style of potato. To season our fritters, because we have all those beautiful green flavors, we don't need a lot more to add. I just have some salt and pepper to taste. Generous amount of pepper. Not so generous amount of salt. And then I also have some garlic powder. Now I'm using garlic powder as opposed to fresh garlic because it's going to keep my recipe drier. If I use fresh minced garlic, we're introducing more moisture. So the dry garlic allows me to keep my recipe dry. Touch more pepper. I like pepper. Now, as I mentioned before, we are using besan flour. Besan flour is made with chickpeas, and you'll find it commonly in Indian cooking or Sri Lankan cooking. And I am going to start with a half a cup. Now what will happen, because we haven't squeezed our zucchini, there will be a little bit of moisture and it will just cling to the flour. This is a very similar way to how the Indians make onion pakoras, or bhaji I think is the other name for it. And you can feel it starting to clump already under my hands, under my fingers, because the besan flour wants to attract to whatever liquid is there. I'm going to add a little bit more flour on the other side. I'm going to pause and show you how there's no liquid sitting in the bottom of the bowl like you often do with regular fritters. See, it's all nice and dry, and yet they're holding really well together. So I do have a couple of eggs here that I've just got them ready in case, because you have to kind of feel out the recipe and see if it calls for it. The eggs are traditionally used when you grate zucchini, because there's a lot of moisture and you're relying on the proteins of the egg to create the batter to hold it together. Because we don't have a lot of moisture, because we've shredded it differently, we don't have a lot of water, and so we don't need something to bind it. So we don't need our eggs. Perfect. All right, let's make those. Our oil has been heated nice and hot, but I'm just going to turn that down to a medium heat, or else our fritters will cook too quickly. Put these babies in their oil and just flatten them down a little. Now, don't overload your pan, or else your oil will cool down too quickly and they won't get that nice crisp browning and even browning on them. Give them a little bit of space in between. Probably you want at least 2 to 3 minutes on each side, but just play it by ear. And make sure that even though we've got it on medium, that it is still hot enough to get those nice bubbles. Our fritters are nice and brown on the edges, but it's still got that nice green herby center. We're going to take them off. They really do look like hash browns in the way they hold, and they've got that nice crispiness like hash browns do. I'm going to go ahead and cook those and meet you on the other side. Our zucchini and herb fritters are all cooked. That's what they look like inside. Still nice and green and crunchy, but gooey inside. And delicious. Now, if you eat dairy, these are traditionally served with sour cream, perhaps some chives, but I do highly recommend a garlic yogurt to dip into them, or even a nice chili relish are super delicious. The other thing I recommend is serve them with eggs for breakfast, just like you would a hash brown. It's a nice way to get your greens, and they are super delicious. I think I've said that, haven't I? They're delicious. And there you have our zucchini and herb fritters done with besan flour. Super crunchy, super awesome. Please give them a try, and we would love to hear from you. If you've enjoyed this recipe, as always, please leave us a comment, hit the like button below, and share it around with everyone. And we look forward to next time when we see you on Living Food Wise. See ya. I might do that again. No. Straight into it.